What's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's Monday, and we back in the marriage shop, y'all. I'm Mike. That's Wendy.
Yeah.
Glad to see you
I am Wendy. Still.
So,
Charles Jones, Francis Anthony, Lady T, and CS. Thanks for joining us tonight in the marriage shop. We're glad you guys could be here.
yeah, some of y'all got in. It's like when you have a get together, you have a gathering, and you're getting the house together, you run it back and forth, and then there's those folks who always come like 30 minutes early.
Maybe about 15
minutes early. I'm just saying, some people come, literally, some people are sitting outside your house. Y'all know who you are. They sit outside your house 30 minutes ahead of time.
Former soldiers, maybe.
You know, and they ready. And then they come in, about 15 minutes is when they pull the trigger. They come in like, hey, can I get you something? Can I do something for you?
Can I help you? Yeah.
So,
can I help you set up? You need me to do anything? That's what it is.
So yeah, so some of y'all were in here a little early during that part of the program. He said, "We hungry."
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And hey, Shelly Wilson, thank you for being here. I see you had a big family reunion you went to in the last few days. So I'm always glad to see what you guys are doing out there, what you guys share. Charles Jones' wife is often going live, I think daily, with her children. Yeah, and sharing sometimes encouraging words. Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome. Oh, he says this is Chaz.
Hey, Chaz, what's up, man?
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome, Chaz. That's good.
Yeah.
So you're in the marriage shop. You're either on Facebook or YouTube, and we're glad you're here. We're in Evans again. So
that would be Evans, Georgia. Just in case there's an Evans near you. I don't know. People are not there.
Evans? I mean,
apparently, there's a duplicate for literally every town in the United States.
I believe
people
that.
Are not, some of
heard
there are many.
Evans, maybe.
There's a Dallas,
Indiana.
Georgia. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Y'all know that? Dallas, Georgia. We got one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, hey.
What? There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm like, what happened? Anyway, so we're back again. And if you were with us last week, I thought it was second Monday, but it wasn't. It was third not. Monday.
No.
So what did we talk about last week?
Second Monday or third Monday?
Third Monday was last week.
I remember second Monday.
What was second Monday?
We were talking about, whether or not you wait, how you wait, etc.
Oh.
Last week, the third Monday, we were talking about, I forget, just like that. We were just talking about it.
Do you ever feel like you're drifting apart?
Do you ever feel like you're drifting apart? Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
So this idea of, if you do nothing, then inevitably you will drift apart.
Yeah.
That's just kind of, I think I'm summing it up, But if you want to hear more about it, just, all of the videos are saved on this page. All of the videos are saved on our YouTube channel at the Marriage Shop. So, yeah, but if you ever feel like you're drifting apart and that whole idea of, well, as long as we're status quo or as long as we, get up, eat, go to work, have a conversation, eat again, sleep, repeat, that everything will be good.
We good.
Yeah.
We never argue, right? We just
going through the motions. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, nah, y'all, that ain't right. So anyway, so that was last week though. This week, we talking about like thinking about your face and your body language in general. We titled it "Fix Your Face," but it's really about your body language.
Okay.
In general.
Yeah, it has been a long moment. Jessica, welcome back. I know we were competing with some commitments that you've had, but we are always glad when you show up in the Marriage Shop.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Wow.
You're doing some amazing things in the kingdom and in the community, and we are so proud of you. So glad you could join us tonight.
Do your thing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So, fix your face.
What is it?
That's what you put.
I thought you were telling me.
So thank you to Michelle Moore Wilson, who actually gave us this topic. So as we were closing out last week, we said it. Well, I don't even know if we opened it up this time. I think 2 people just said, "I got something you could talk about."
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what she said specifically. Well, actually, let me pull it up. You got something to say? Because I don't want to misquote.
I mean,
what she said.
We can misquote. All right, she'll fix it. Because I think the general premise is what's important, right? It was about, I think the question was, can you tell what somebody's thinking or feeling by their facial expression or their body language? Can you tell? And I think a lot of us would say, of course I can. Matter of fact, some of us may have told others of us that they can do just that.
Yeah, no. So we got a lot of perspectives on this one, but we want to hear from you first. So what do you guys think? Oh, sisterhood formed by faith. Yes. What do you guys think about that? Can you tell a lot about what a person is thinking by their facial expressions? I guess that's one thing. But if their facial expression is contrary to what they're saying, which do you believe? So those 2 questions in one. Don't ask me to repeat it because I don't even know what I said. Oh, okay. So Jessica says, even if it's not precise, but we can tell something ain't right. That's good. I'll
buy that for sure. Right. I mean, and I think, yes, I'm in agreement with that. You can tell that something maybe has shifted, right? There's a change and it might not be good.
Yeah, so, I think that's one aspect of it.
Charles Jones says being married for 12 years. Yes, I can tell.
Okay.
So, and remember, the question is,
What's the question?
Well, I'm just saying, is it about whether you can tell something different or can you tell what's really going on?
Let me find what her question was.
Why?
Because I want to make sure that we get it.
Formulating
because I think
now.
the idea of believing that you know what the person is actually thinking or feeling based on their facial expression is really what we're talking about, right? Because we find ourselves sometimes so Chad says yes to an extent. We find ourselves sometimes in conversation or, in the midst of an argument even, right? Whatever it is, and we're having the conversation, we're exchanging, and the other person's face might be sending a message that oftentimes they may not even be aware of. He says, Charles says, can't tell what's going on, but definitely know that it's something. That's good.
I think, in this particular vein, and you can find what you're looking for if you need to, but in this particular vein, I think a lot of times where we run into risk is particularly if you've been in a few situations, you've had some conversations, some arguments, some disagreements, whatever. And so you begin to, based on past experience, it's what we do, human beings, right? We are creatures of habit and repetition, and your brain is trying to shortcut that thing. So when you see certain things, you're like, I know what that is. And some people will actually say out loud, I know what that is.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Right?
true.
And so they believe, okay, here we go down this road. Right? And so I think that, there's some validity to being able to examine and see things. I think perhaps where we might run into trouble is the interpretation and the actions after that,
Yeah.
right?
So assuming that we know, and it's interesting because you could draw two conclusions from this, right? But we want to talk specifically about conversations with your spouse, right? We're not talking about leadership at work or necessarily with your children, but between the two of you. And so what Michelle Moore Wilson, her question was, does body language or facial expression determine what a person is feeling in that moment? So
So
there's a little nuance there, but we get into this all the time, meaning us. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And Chaz says because some people have good poker faces. Charles Jones says body language changes as well as facial expressions. Now Jessica said, I'm quick to say I'm fine when I'm still professing or processing my feelings, but my disposition is like, leave me alone. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And then she came back to say, after 20 years together, 19 married, sometimes his face means something different than what I knew because he responds in a different way than he used to. That's really good. She says, same with me. And we talk about that, continuing to be a student of your spouse, right? Not making assumptions about what was, applying it to current day, but really checking in. Well, I mean, I think that's the premise. That's my position, right? To check in if you're not sure and to check in when you believe you know you're right or when you think you're right. I think checking in is never wrong.
How about checking in is right all the time? Because there's so many different things. A lot of times Wendy will ask me about what's going on, and I'm like, and she will specifically say, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And she's like, your face. I'm like, well, I don't know what my face is doing. I don't. All right. There's some times where I will intentionally make a facial expression. I know when I'm smiling, there's a lot of things in between that can be happening with somebody's face, right? Or body language on a given day.
Yeah.
A big thing around here is pain, back pain, knee pain, shoulder, neck. You pick something, it's just kind of, it rotates around. And so sometimes it'll be like, hey, are you, what's wrong? You in pain? I'm like, nah, I'm just, this time I'm just, I don't know, feel like doing that. I don't know. Right. So, but I think where we're running issues is when it's like, it could be, and this is not you, right? It's not you, right? But, what's wrong with you? Because your face all twisted up, right? So, hey, Michelle Moore Wilson.
Yeah. Thank you for this topic. Yeah. I think that often we're not aware, right? I think sometimes people can say my face betrays me, right? And even the idea in the title that you put, Fix Your Face, really kind of says, okay, well, what my face is doing is separate from what I'm actually thinking or feeling, right? And so it is, in some instances, though, having that reflected, right? Somebody saying, what's wrong with your face? Or what are you concerned about? Or whatever. They're reading that body language. When they give you that feedback, I mean, I think it's often when it's inconsistent, more so than consistent. Like if I'm mad and I look mad, no questions there, right? That's consistent.
But there could be questions, but continue.
Yeah, but if I'm saying I'm good, but I look mad, then that's when it's more apparent, I think. You don't think?
Yeah, certainly. What's up, Gerald Wilson? I mean, but you bring up a good point, right? Because, when you're mad, but I've run into this specific thing because you're mad, and I'm like, yeah, she has reason to be mad, but the thing I thought you were mad about was not the thing you were mad about.
Yeah, but that's kind of the challenge of communication in general, right?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We are.
It's so now I think I know. So now I'm going through all the motions trying to somehow fix the thing that I broke, or whatever. At least the thing that was perceived that I broke on that particular occasion, and then I discover through a conversation that the thing I'm chasing now is not even the thing in this particular instance, right? And so that vulnerability that what Jessica put in the chat, but that being able to slow down, because we jump into reaction mode, whether that be trying to fix it or trying to argue or push back against whatever, we jump into that mode real quick. It's hard, man, and I'm not even gonna sit here and be like, yeah, this is it. It's hard to slow the situation down long enough to continue to gather information when you believe you already know, but you might not already know.
That's good. I think that's the key, right? I think where we make mistakes or where we err is
Where we err
is in believing or thinking that we already know, despite what's being said, what's being conveyed, what's being communicated. It's like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. However, that's not what your face says. Jessica, we get it. Enjoy, have fun with your class, and we'll see you back. Yeah. She says it comes back to that giving up the right to be right to get a better understanding is required, and that's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. Giving up the right to be right and being right though. I mean, if we're being honest, it can be oh so satisfying. Being right, and so y'all don't have to admit it. I'm just saying. Like, there's this thing in us that wants to be right. That thing is pride, by the way, in case you were wondering. That's pride. And so, but it drives the train because there's something somehow wrong with being wrong. And it could be like the simplest stuff, right? Just things that make no difference, but we want to be right. And so it causes us to behave and communicate in ways that are just not helpful. And so, a lot of times though, I mean, because there's a flip side to this too, because as you're taking in these facial expressions, you are, you're making decisions about what you're going to say, how you're going to move, what will be your next words. And a lot of times there'll be a conversation happening in your head that is not happening in reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes that's the case, right? I mean, and so we talk about checking in, we talk about communicating often, we talk about being open and honest with each other. However, practicing that and actively applying that can be a little bit more difficult, especially if the person you married has a resting grumpy face. That
hilarious.
May not be what you call
a resting grumpy face.
Yes. So a lot of people, because people talk about my smile all the time, and I would always say that my resting face, my resting state is a smile. But the truth is, as I've aged, my resting face is not a smile, it's a frown. And that's genetic.
That is genetic.
It's genetic. So if I'm just completely relaxed, the corners of my mouth go down. And so it's funny because I can see that in my other family members, but unless I'm seeing myself like early in the morning or at some other time, is hard to say. So
you know what, and that this is a totally unrelated thing, but I just, as you were saying that, I just want to say to the brothers, because this is typically something I see the brothers do, and it's always toward a sister somewhere, right? It's always toward a woman. Never have I seen maybe once or twice, the brother look at another dude and be like, man, why you ain't smiling? You need to smile. But they be trying to tell these women to smile. Look, man, leave these women alone. Like, just let them go about their day. That's all I'm saying. Stop trying to tell women to smile like that. They'll smile if they want to. That's all. Moving on. Trust me on this one.
Okay. But as it pertains to your communication between the two of you and continuing to do the work, right? That's why we're in the shop. Continuing to do the work to figure out what's going to work. It's like testing little things. And so it is impossible for us to have a conversation with our spouse without looking at them at some point, right? So, maybe early in a relationship, you gazed into each other's eyes and you were taking in all the information. And then maybe, a few years in, or 10 years or 15 or 25 years in, maybe you're having conversations, but you're not necessarily gazing at each other the entire time, unless you're making a point of emphasis or you're asking a question for clarification. That's when you kind of lock in. And it's in these lock-in moments that it is critical that you're aware of what you're sending, because you're going to be called on it by the other person, right? What's wrong? Did I say something wrong? You know, are you upset about something? Are you mad? Are you angry? Those are things, right? Or why are you laughing? I'm being serious right now. It can go on either side of it, right? And it's like, I'm not laughing, but, but you have a big smile on your face. Or I'm not mad, but you're frowned up. The key is being consistent.
You be laughing.
I don't be laughing.
You be laughing. It's
when you be
it's
serious?
a very inopportune moments. Come on, man. Yeah, you do. It's all good though.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's better than some alternatives, but
I guess so.
you know what you
Yeah, but I can tell you because I deal with this often. I won't say daily, but often. You know, your resting face is not a smile.
It is not. No.
In fact, it's kind of a scowl a little bit.
It can be.
Like, you know, the lines in your forehead. It's like you are. It's like.
It's genetically. It's what.
Oh wait, when I do that, my nostrils go.
Is that a necessary? Do you have to do that when you scowl? Do your nostrils have to flare too? I don't know, but yeah, as you can see, it's genetic, right? And probably the older I get, the more my frown will lock in. I have to actually be aware of that,
yes.
and so that I'm actively, not doing it.
Well,
actively not doing it.
One thing that my dad shared with me years and years ago
Yeah.
in an interesting instance. Now, what I will say is, which is crazy, because I think the story goes that he was like on a smoke break at work. Was that what it was? Do you remember?
Wait a minute. Are you gonna quote? Like you gonna quote him like word
I'm
for
not
word?
gonna quote him word for
Okay.
word, but it was about why you frowning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, smoke break. I think they were at work. I don't even know. But anyway, in this instance, it was not a cigarette smoke break. It was the other kind of cigarette smoke break. Y'all, if you know, you know. And so anyway, so he says he comes back to work and people are kind of looking at him. He's like, and everybody's like frowning up at him. And he's like, why are you frowning at me? And the response was, because you're frowning at me. It's like, well, I'm frowning at you because you're frowning at me. I mean, and it's an endless loop of, I'm giving you what you're giving me. And I mentioned last week about matching energy, right? I think that it's a term that, a lot more recently, a lot of people have been talking about energy, your energy, what you're exuding, what I'm receiving, right? But this whole idea of matching energy, if I mirrored what I saw all the time, it would be really interesting to get that feedback. And I often say, you know what? Okay, you say you're not frowning. I wish I had a mirror so I could just show you what your face is doing right now. I wish I had a mirror because let me show you. But if you took the time to get a mirror to show the person, their facial expression would change before they got a chance to see.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because it's kind of like if you see somebody, and I cut people some slack. Like you see somebody at the grocery store at a traffic light, and you know this person well, right? And when you see them, they're always up and they're on and they're. But a lot of times, just in a default state, if you look at that person, you'll think, man, what's wrong with them, right?
Yeah.
Until they see you, and then boom, right? Changes when you're actively engaged with somebody. So that can be a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I would tell you, my facial expressions have changed as my hormone levels have changed. What do I mean by that? Well,
I shall withhold comment.
Right.
On
Well,
this piece.
I'll just say I'm coming in hot. If you know, you know. And
hilarious. You wow.
And
You wow.
or I learned this recently. I'm part of the fan club. The fan club.
Oh, I get it.
I thought that was so good.
That's
what I'll
funny.
say about that is
That's
something
funny.
happens to your filter once you turn 50. That's one thing. But then as other things change, there's a lot that happens with us. And so, emotionally, hormonally, whatever, genetically, chronologically, there are things that impact how we interact with the world. And so as our filter leaves, it's not just the filter of what you say, it's the filter of everything, what your face says, what your body language says. All of it changes. Yes, you know what I mean. You're a member of the fan club too. Yes. And so this whole idea of, before you may have gotten on my nerves before, and it's just like, okay, you're getting on my nerves, but I'm not really, I'm not reflecting that you're getting on my nerves. And it's like now, at the first inkling of nerve disruption, my whole face says, you are getting on my nerves right now. See the nostrils flare out? Yeah, it's like quick. And then you know what you say? Why are you staring at me like that? It's so
That's
funny.
true. That's
Like,
true.
why are you staring
That's
at me
like,
like that? And I'm like, I'm not staring at you. You're like, yes, you are. So then we are going back and forth with what you doing. Why you doing what you, without talking about whatever the issue, if there is an issue. We don't even get to the issue because we are all caught up in how it was conveyed.
Yeah.
And so you've heard people say it's not what you said, it's how you said it, right?
Yeah.
That's the tone, the pitch, the modulation, how much emphasis and emotion is in what you actually say. But the rest of that is how you said it with your face and your body language, right?
Well, this is where it's a crossroads, right? When
Yeah.
there's, okay, I got you. There's a, excuse me. There's a crossroads
Yeah.
when you are at that point where it's like, hey, and I love what Jessica put in here earlier. She said something to the effect of, oh, I noticed your demeanor changed. Do you want to talk? Right? And I've actually found that to be that you can have a conversation on the heels of that. Like,
Sure
hey,
you
it
can.
seems like something changed. And so because it gives the other person an opportunity to say, yeah, something changed, or no, it didn't.
Yeah.
And so, but after this is where the words are really important, right? Because it's easy to say, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with your face? Fix your face and all that. And so I think the words are where the turning point is, if you will, or the tip, you know what I'm saying? It's where you have an opportunity to get some truth and to have a conversation that is loving and that actually gets you somewhere versus not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a couple of things about your words. And we just really kind of noticed this tonight for some reason. Proverbs 18.
Oh, 18.
Yeah, 20 through 22. I'm starting a little before the part that most of you might be used to if you've heard this. But 20 says, from the fruit of a man's mouth his stomach is satisfied. He is satisfied by the yield of his lips.
You know what I was
20
gonna say?
What?
That if you talk sweet, then you might eat. His stomach is satisfied.
If you talk,
I'm gonna cook you a really nice meal if you talk sweet to me.
from the fruit, that's good. From the fruit of a man's mouth, his stomach is satisfied. He is satisfied by the yield of his lips. That's verse 21. 20. 21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
And those who love it will eat its fruits. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Whatever your tongue produces, you will eat the fruit of that. Right? The
That's
very
good.
next verse, 22, some of y'all know, some of you don't. But it says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Is this a message?
Yes.
Is this a message for us, like, get it together?
Yes. Yes.
Right? So I think that those are closely associated. So that's interesting. And God does nothing by mistake. There's another scripture, though, I want y'all to consider. And this one is
Oh,
Colossians
that's good.
4, 5 through 6. Right?
Yeah.
Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Now, that first verse 5 says, be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. I would suggest that this is great counsel in terms of how you deal with your spouse.
Yeah. Yeah. For the insiders.
Right?
Yeah.
Full of grace, seasoned with salt, unless they have hypertension. Might want to go to substitute.
Oh my
Apologies.
goodness.
Anyway.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
But full of grace and seasoned with salt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are your words full of grace? Even if their face is scowling and you know, okay, it's about to be, this could be bad. Can you approach them in a way that's tender, loving, understanding, full of grace?
That's good. That's good, because I think that if you're able to get beyond the face, beyond the body language, to hear their heart, then it's about grace, it's about patience, it's about taking the time.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that the quick reaction is, I know what I'm seeing. So what I see is louder than what I'm hearing. And because it's louder than what I'm hearing, then I'm not hearing you anymore, right? So at the point that your face changes or you get angry or whatever it is, right? I'm distracted by that. But it's not just that I'm distracted because I'm highly distractible. It is because, what we desire the most is for our person to get us, right?
Yeah.
For our person to accept us and for our person to love us. Yeah. And so as we, venture into places where there's a question of acceptance or there's a question of love in some relationships, this becomes a very sensitive thing. So we're kind of making light of it in some ways, but in other ways, we know that communication or the lack of communication, good, healthy communication or miscommunication can destroy a marriage.
Yeah. Period. I don't even know what it's like. Can't even elaborate on that. Like,
I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah,
it's the
absolutely.
Truth. It's one of the earliest indicators that something is wrong in your marriage, and how you communicate can really be prescriptive, right? In terms of what your underlying issues are. So this whole idea of you frown a lot, or you're scowling, or you look like you're not pleased, or you're not impressed, whatever it is, whatever the face is, isn't it interesting that we often will go to a negative interpretation of what it's saying before we go to maybe a positive one, right? If somebody's smiling or they look pleasant or they're calm or peaceful, we rarely question that. But as soon as you get a frown, a scowl, they glare at you, or they look at you like, why didn't you know that? Or, anything that is not positive will get a reaction. And that's where your conversation can be derailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to even throw this one out there because I feel like we throw it out there a lot, but it always applies. So whatever.
This is like the brain for you.
This is it's kind of like the brain for me because,
It is.
as a matter of fact, I talked about that this weekend. In part, and that is Galatians 5, verse 22 to 23.
Yeah.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. It's the fruit of the Spirit. It's like if the Holy Spirit is in you and you're allowing him to work in you, then this is what you get. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. It's not, is the Spirit in her? Is the Spirit in him? He ain't acting like it. She ain't acting like it. It's not that. Are these things in you? Because if the Spirit is in you, this is the fruit.
Yeah.
And the word says, you shall know a fruit or tree by the fruit it bears.
Yeah, yeah.
So these are just in you. And it doesn't matter if it's challenging to do them, they're in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we make the decision to let those carry the day? So no matter what your face looks like, I can create a space that's safe for you, a place where we can talk about what might be happening behind your face.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
What might be happening behind your face. I think part of what disrupts communication is dishonesty, right? And so, if there is something on your heart or on your mind, or something emotional that you are dealing with or struggling with, or you're angry, right? And your spouse asks you, if you're angry or if there's something going on, or they're asking you for more information because of what your body language is sending, be honest.
Yeah, I'd
I
be like,
think,
I'm good.
yeah, I mean, many of us do, right? We
Yeah.
kind of bail on it. It's like, I don't feel like getting into it.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about it. There's nothing you can do about it anyway, blah, blah,
We talked
blah.
about this
Or
before.
it's you, right? And so in those instances, it's kind of like, okay, it will do us more good to be honest about what's behind our face than to deny it, right? And perhaps that reflection or the person telling you that you're sending a different message or the message is inconsistent is an opportunity for you to examine yourself.
Yeah. So Jessica, she's on a roll tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
You said salt preserves. Keeping that in mind. Are our words tearing down or keeping up, or
Yeah.
building up? She said sometimes I'm not ready to talk, and so that's real, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not ready.
Yep.
The problem is, are we ever ready, right? Does that time for readiness come? Or, does the time to talk, even if we're not completely ready, do we go ahead and just kind of submit and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and share this, even though I don't feel like it right now? Because I think
Yeah.
a lot of times what happens is we won't talk in the moment and time just passes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden another thing comes up. And so now we're beginning to stack things. We had unresolved things, and now we're beginning to stack that next thing on. And so I think it's really, really important to very intentionally decide when you are going to come back to something, and then honor that time that you set. Right? I think Jasmine, I think she said it here. A family member of mine said that they have like a day. It's the day that you that you go
Bring out
in
your grievances to
and
bed.
bring your grievances, right? And so
Yes.
some of us can't wait a week, but yeah, it's like a day every week where if there's something, this is the day we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
In the absence of having, because I talk about this commercial or this commercial series a lot during football season, where two people disagree on what occurred,
Yeah.
and they throw the replay flag, right, or they throw the challenge flag, red flag, and then they look at the replay to really kind of show what actually occurred, and on the surface it's like, oh yeah, we need one of those. But the truth is, no, we don't.
yeah, let us. I put in the chat. Would you want the challenge flag or no? Just because, not me. I don't want the challenge flag.
Yeah.
I don't. Because half the time when people challenge stuff, they already know what happened anyway.
That's true. Every time that they challenge things, they know what happened.
Right.
But it is to prove that I'm right. We're going to
Yeah.
review this. Here's the problem with that as you guys share your answers. To me, the problem is that we would spend so much time reviewing what happened that we won't be able to move forward.
Yep.
Right? We're spending too much time looking back. And I think that that's part of it, right? We are multidimensional beings. And what I mean is we are absolutely communicating in different ways on, in different wavelengths, and doing different things, right? It is possible, as we're complicated, it's possible for us to communicate and convey one thing, but actually be feeling something different. That is fact. The challenge is, that we should be working to be consistent. What I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and what I'm feeling is what I'm showing. And it's how I'm living, right? I'm not in contradiction, right? So what do I mean by that, even to dig a little bit deeper, right? I think somewhere it says that God is not the author of confusion, right? And I think that when we try to put on a face that's not really expressing what we're feeling inside, that's confusing, and vice versa, right? When our face is not matching what we're saying, that's confusing for the people around us. It would be really interesting to be able to have you do like a real-time photo, right? If you could see what I see through my eyes right now, if I could just take a picture of you with my eyes so you don't have enough time to change your face, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, it would be, but we don't want that either. I don't want that any more than I want a replay flag.
No.
I don't, right?
No.
Because ultimately, I think what we're talking about is not, look, I got you. See, you do look mad.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's where this grace comes into play. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't matter what you look like. How are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do I notice? Did something shift? Did something change? Can I create that space and just ask that question? And so I think that, and because sometimes, frankly, when somebody says, "Hey, what's wrong?"
Yeah.
There is something wrong, and they know what's wrong too.
Yeah, because they did it. Is that what you were
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. So as we're talking about being honest, it's okay. It's kind of like when Jesus said, somebody at this table is going to betray me. And they're like, Lord, is it me?
Oh, wow. Because you don't
Right?
know. I think that is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really good point
Yeah.
because we know living life that we're going to do things that disappoint the other person or lets them down in some way or even hurts them in some way.
Yeah.
Just by living our lives, that will happen,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think that it's intentional, and we certainly don't know it at the outset, right? It's not that my goal in life is to bring you pain or hurt or betrayal or whatever. My goal in life is to love you and protect you and be a good partner for you, and all of the positive things. The truth is, though, we're human, so nothing is ever 100% positive.
Right.
I say ever. It is difficult for things to be 100% positive.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Is it I? You know it's you."
You know it's you. Stop playing.
Do you know?
That
Yeah,
would've been
yeah.
the modern day. If that happened in the 2000s, it'd be like, come on, dog, for real. You already know what it is.
Yeah, which is, and I think even as we practice our expressions, that feedback happens as you're developing, right? Babies learn to react to and respond differently to different facial expressions.
Yeah.
Animals react and respond differently to different facial expressions.
That's right.
Even if you frown up at your dog, but you say something in a high-pitched voice, it's confusing, but they respond to either what they hear or what they see. So, in that same way, as we learn, well, this, I would make this cute face and I would get my way when I was young. So now I'm just going to make a cute face.
Oh,
and
my
maybe
goodness.
you'll forget about everything else.
You got a cute face. There's a cute face mode. It's true. That's crazy. Like, you got a cute face mode. And I'd be like, okay.
That is not true.
That is 100%. Baby, come on now. We said we're going to be honest with the people.
Okay.
Now. You
Well,
got a cute face
but
mode.
in the same vein, I think that's what they say. Having a mean face, right? And so one of my best friends that I went to high school with told me years later, like almost 20 years later, she was like, when you're mad, you squint. And I was like, look, I got mad. No, I don't. She was like, every time when you're mad about something, your eyes get really tiny and you squint when you're saying what you're saying. And I was like, that is just not true. I do not squint when I'm mad. But oh boy, so now if something angers me or I'm upset or somebody frustrates me, I can feel myself. It's like my eyes are just going. I can't help it. And the smile is gone. So it's one thing to squint when I'm smiling. It's another thing to have no smile.
It's a
and
whole
I'm squinting.
different kind of squint.
But she told me like 20 years later.
That's funny.
And so it's kind of one of those things. And I often share about, and I make light of when we were going through some of our challenges and, this whole effort to not smile at you, and the work that went into changing my face so that you would know how I felt, right? we that's the self-control piece, right? If we are really trying to exhibit and live out and be Christ-like, right? And inhabit and experience the fruits of the Spirit and allowing the Holy Spirit to work through us. That self-control piece with the help of the Holy Spirit is possible. But we know what's really going on. The question is whether or not you admit it. So Michelle says, but if we had those things, then we would feel validated, and forces the other person to communicate their feelings. Yeah. In some instances, it would force you to communicate their feelings. I mean, force them to communicate their feelings. But like Jessica said, and like you mentioned, if they're not ready to communicate their feelings, you can't force that. You cannot force another adult to do anything that they don't want to do.
Profoundly frustrating, by the way, right? Because sometimes it's like, I know that there's something, like, why won't you tell me? And all we can do is just wait and maintain that space. But a lot of times, that in and of itself creates like a whole nother issue, right? And so, because the way that we begin to react and respond is through that of frustration. It's just like, you know what? I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
You always, things like that.
Yeah.
And so really difficult, but really important to not go down that road if you're not getting what it is, what you believe to be there. Right? Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I think the other issue with this is how you look at other people, right? So
say more.
So if your spouse is like one of those people that on the outside, so all of the people over here get this, and then when they turn to you, you get. It's like, wait a minute.
That's good. Go ahead.
That's serious, right?
Yeah.
That's real. We talked about being in the car riding to church. And just me in there, you get on my nerves, you make me sick, blah, 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 blah. I don't even want to talk about it, and we're not talking about it when we leave, and I don't even know why we got to be early, and somebody rolls up, and they're like, hi, and you're like,
hey,
praise the
Lord. This is the day that the Lord has made.
God bless you.
Come on. Like,
yes.
I mean, it's like that. Instantaneous. In fact, I think I would challenge us all to be very aware of that. And there have been times, because I'm aware of that, in that scenario, I go to church, it's like, I don't even deal with that many people. It's like, I'm mad at you. I ain't ready, but I'm not going here and get nobody else all this either. So dip out the side door. I ain't talking out.
Yeah, but it's church, work, family, any of those things. It's like we put in the effort, or we find the effort and the energy to put that face on for other people.
Yep.
But then we lose the desire when we're looking at our spouse, right? Especially if they have done something that has gotten on your nerves, hurt you, made you mad, frustrated you, any of those things, or annoyed you.
Really, I think that's a really, really important point, because I think that the contrast can be so stark and so sudden, you can't help but notice it. And if you notice it, you got to be honest with yourself and figure out, not like me, how do I dip out the back door and not talk to anybody? How do I get right with my wife?
Yeah.
Or for you, how do you get right with your husband, right?
Yeah, because that's the priority. It's the priority relationship. Yeah. Right. And so, and I think one of the worst things that can happen, if that happens with you often, that you are smiling to the world and frowning at your spouse, is for somebody else to comment, right? That's, oh my goodness. And and what do I mean by that? Well, it is, why are you smiling at everybody or whatever? Why you got to be showing your teeth to everybody? Why is that person smiling at you? It feels like you can find it and smile at everybody else, that kind of thing, right? Yeah. Or I wish you would smile like so-and-so's husband.
Oh my. Yo, if that's you, don't do that.
Man, your wife has a beautiful smile. I wish my wife smiled like that.
Yeah, listen. Do not play out wherever that rift is in the court of not public opinion. It's like the news. But don't listen. remember that this is point number 2, sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad idea, right?
It
Because
is a bad idea.
yeah, it's for so many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that on another night. We're getting close.
Yeah.
So I did find something on this. Excuse me. When I was looking up, it's not what you say, it's how you said it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy, and I don't know what his background is. I think he's a researcher, Albert Mehrabian, Mehrabians, and he has what's known as the 7-38-55 rule. It's a communication model that he came up with. So I'm not saying this is 100% accurate. I'm just saying that we like to pull from a lot of different resources and places for information. And according to him, his model says that 7% of the meaning of feelings and attitudes takes place through the words we use in spoken communication. 7%.
That's not much.
Right. While 38% takes place through tone and voice, and the remaining 55% of communication of these factors take place through the body language we use, specifically our facial expressions. I kind of felt like Hamilton right there when I was talking about the other 55%.
I mean, and those are very interesting, like the precision of those numbers. Because I mean, I'd say at 10, 40, and 50. You know what I mean? Just make it easy. But
Yep.
that's interesting. That and so whether or not I mean, it's interesting percentages. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that whole idea that conversations that you're having with someone where they're saying one thing, but the signals they send, whether that is through their facial expressions or body language, are contradictory to what they're saying. It can be frustrating, but it can be confusing. I think we've made that point.
Yeah.
How do you then navigate out of that, right? And so first of all, as you said, and I think it was who said it is I. When it's you, big boy,
I think
sings.
it was Tommy. Yeah.
when you know it's you, then you know it's you.
Own it.
Right? You kind of have to own that thing. Maybe allow for a cool down period. Maybe ask, is there something that I can do to make up for what I've done? I don't know, but opening up the conversation in a way, like even what Jessica said, right? When you notice that something changed, or there's a change in the tone or the expression, finding a way to enter into a conversation versus ending the conversation at that point.
For sure. As we shout out Justice Smith, who was dropped into the building at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we have to. There have been times where I'm not ready to talk, but I'm not ready to let it go either. And so I need you to know, like, I'm mad or I'm upset or whatever. And so my face or my demeanor, my body language screams I'm upset.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, you want to talk? Nah, I'm good. Something going on? Nope.
Yeah.
Right? Not owning the fact that I'm upset and I want to stay in that space for a minute.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's important for us to own it and to want to get out of that space, because that space is not doing anything. It's that rotten fruit, I believe, that Jessica alluded to earlier.
Rotten moldy fruit.
Rotten moldy fruit.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's about planting seeds that are going to bring you together and not create isolation, not create angst and frustration. So part of that is either getting it out there or completely letting it go.
That's good.
Getting it out there or completely letting it go. Not reaching back and saying, hey, remember that time you did it again? Right? And this is just like, no, letting it go. Those are your choices.
Yeah. And I think that the one time where I believe I'm not really controlling what my face is saying, but my face is absolutely sending a message, is if I'm having a migraine. Because when I'm having a migraine, it is obvious. There's no other expression. It's like there's one expression. And if you happen to come into my gaze, you will be caught in that expression.
You about to get frowned at. It's official.
But again, understanding that. So I think that, a couple of things that we've said, right? Communication is key to having a healthy, loving relationship. And we are constantly working on it. I don't think you ever arrive at mastering communication, even in marriage. I think you get better at it. I think you work to a place where you both understand each other, what's spoken and unspoken, but I don't think you ever truly master it, right?
Yeah.
And so communication is key. The next thing is that you have to own your part. You either have to own your feelings in your face, or you have to own that you did something to create the feelings in the face of the other person, right? So communication is key. Owning what you brought to it, whether you're evoking the expression or you are expressing the expression, right? Yeah. And then the last thing really is about, not looking back, but being where we are and looking forward, right? So what your face may have meant 25 years ago may not be what that same face means today. Continuing to be a student of your spouse, asking questions, inquiring about what emotions they're feeling, being patient and, showing grace in times of not really understanding or knowing what's going on. Because, when the scriptures that you shared, when you talk about the power of life and death, or death and life are in the tongue, it hits a little different when what you're receiving is maliciousness or contempt. Malice is the word. Contempt or anger from the person that you love the most.
Yeah, yeah. So as we wrap it up, I'll simply say this. I've dropped the 3 verses that we referenced in the chat, but I'll simply say this. I think we need to be less concerned about what's happening with someone's face and more concerned about what's happening in their heart.
Yeah.
Because some of us, it's like, why you frowned up? Smile. Okay. Right? And so having a smile when you're feeling hurt, or if you're feeling anger or whatever, it's just like washing your car, but it's all real dirty and grimy on the inside. What's the point? Right? So let's get concerned about what's in your spouse's heart and lead with just simple questions. What's going on?
Yeah.
Something changed. You okay? You want to talk about it? And
did I do something?
Or if you know you did something, it's like, I did this.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Right?
Yes,
All right. Oh,
hey, Lori Ann, we are so sorry we missed you this weekend, but I will say, Mike had an awesome opportunity to share with our chosen family here in Grovetown. Yeah. And so if you happen to be in the building on Saturday, he preached a mighty word. I mean, that's probably not how he would like me to describe it.
That's not how I would describe
it. But it was really good, talking about humility. And so if we had to miss sharing with you and those families and people, it was only so that we could minister to our family here. But thank you for being on.
Yeah.
She said, I have to work. We all have to work on our face.
I can't work on this face.
You can work on it.
Anyway. All right, we got to get y'all out of here. Look, thank you for being here. Let's pray, shall we?
Yep.
Heavenly Father, we just come tonight just thanking you for this time. We thank you for everyone listening now and in the future. We just ask that you be with us all, God. Help us to search our hearts and to live and speak and think in a way that is pleasing to you, and that helps to grow and cherish and protect our relationships, and help our words to be full of grace, sprinkled with salt, and full of love, God. Help the love that we share for each other model the love that you've shown to us. And we'll be sure to give you all the honor, the glory, and the praise. We thank you tonight, God. We love you. Pray these and all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And practice. practice smiling. Look at yourself in the mirror or, in a video. Take some pictures. Make different faces so you know how they feel. And practice. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we practice. I don't practice frowning. That's easy.
Yeah. If you're in the mirror practicing smiling, don't make it weird. That's all. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all so much. See you next week.
See you next week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood. Love. Lately I've been